Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and today we have a package in from Blade HQ. So shout out to them. We're going to check these knives out for the first time. Now, I've already checked this out. You guys already know, if you watched the channel, that I've been raving about the new Civivi Cubit. It is extremely well done. 14C28N, extremely thin, slicey geometry, aluminum handles, very, very lightweight. This is a champion lightweight knife. Now, this does act as a bottle opener. I'm not sure if it was intended for that because it does, act as, the stop pin placement, but man, it works good as a bottle opener. I know some people don't like that, but it works really good. And to me, I highly recommend this knife. This is an awesome, awesome model. Now, getting to the TODD Begg knives, let's check these out. Starting it off, we have the KWAIKEN. Now, as far as the KWAIKEN goes, this is very straightforward. As you can see, the blade sits nicely in the handle. The flipper tab is very comfortable, well jimped, and super snappy. Very, very smooth on the drop. This is D2 steel, and I will say that it's $120. Now, I'm going to give you some other examples though, because there's actually some other budget knives that TODD Begg is doing that's really awesome. This one's $120 for D2 steel, which I know it's a little pricey for D2, but TODD Begg customs are thousands of dollars, so they're very, very expensive. And I will say, even though it's D2 steel, and I usually don't like to pay that much for D2, this is some of the best inlay work. I don't know who's doing this OEM work, but they are doing a phenomenal job. This inlay, I would never know that there was a wood or carbon fiber inlay in this. It is so perfectly done. Now, these clips, I'm normally not a fan of these clips. This one does actually work pretty good as far as in and out of the pocket goes. Like I said, super snappy, very smooth on the drop. The blade shape is going to work good for EDC. Because of the straightforward handle, you're going to be able to use it in any grip. As far as negatives go, the clip is very annoying in the hand. I would not have positioned it this way and kinked it like that. This edge right here is very much a hot spot and is very annoying. Then the access to the lock bar is horrible. They should have put access to the lock bar. It's easy to get, but it needs it. It needs access to the lock bar. So there is one other negative that I have to call out. So while I was complimenting this side of the inlay work, and it is very well done and it is very smooth, you can't even tell there's inlays. On this side, I have some separation from my wood inlay around the G10. So I can not only see it, I can also feel it, so I had to call that out. That is definitely a negative. And, it's crazy because this side is done so well, and then this side, I got separation. So, I have to call it out. Next thing would be T6s. But other than that, man, it is a super solid knife and very much a well-done, well-built knife. Let's get to the next one, which is the star of the show. This is the budget bodega. Now, a real bodega is very, very expensive. But before I talk about this, just know that they have the mini glimpse that's $79, $80. And it seems like it has a lot of the great qualities that this one has that we're going to talk about. Then there's a few other models. So, just throwing that out there, that there are some really, really cool budget TODD Begg knives out right now, and even more coming. Now, as far as this one goes, it is D2 steel and it is $120, but I think this is an exception with this one, and I'm going to explain why. One, it has a beautiful drop point harpoon style blade shape with a hollow grind. It has this gorgeous fuller inside of it. The access to the lock bar is extremely comfortable on this one, very smooth on the drop. This has some of the best flipping action I've felt all year, and I mean that. The flipper tab is not only very comfortable, but look at how big it is, so it allows you to have tons of leverage. This thing is so snappy, man. I can see why people loved the TODD Begg knives for so long, because I used to hear about them being like some of the best flippers ever. Yeah, this thing is insanely good. Then you have the fuller too. Oh yeah, also when you open it up, the flipper tab, even though it's big on this side it's not. So you can comfortably still hold, which is one of the downfalls in many cases to having a big flipper tab, is that when it opens, it's big on this side, but not in this case. So very comfortable in the hand, extremely ergonomic. We're going to get into that in 1 second. The fuller is nice and deep, and it allows good traction for the reverse flick. Has a nice sound to it. if you look at because it is a steel lock face. So this is a steel lock bar, G10. You can see that, G10 backspacer. Now, this feels like titanium, I will say. I know it's not, but if you are somebody that doesn't have the money for titanium, but you really like the look, you know, and maybe the look of TODD Begg knives, man, I would highly encourage you to get this. This one's really good. The access to the lock bar, look at that. Look how well done that is. Look at how thick that lock bar is too. And then listen to this. Engagement is so strong, rock solid lockup. And then it has an internal stop pin that you can't barely see, but it does have it, which makes it have super solid lockup side to side. So it's going to help it be a little bit more stable. The handle has tons of milling in there. And like I said, this thing is extremely ergonomic and extremely useful. This is one you can totally use long term. Now, and the clip in this case is actually comfortable in the hand. It's not uncomfortable at all. Now, the clip, like I said, I'm normally not a big fan of these clips, but this one actually works pretty good. So I'm not going to complain about it at all. But I do have a couple other negatives. One, lots of T6s. I do not like a lot of T6s, you know, but you know, it just is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. I prefer T8s. Next thing is the sharpen choil and plunge grind. You will hit the choil, or sorry, you will hit the plunge grind when you sharpen it. I prefer that to be backed up and away from the edge so you have life to sharpen off. I'm not sure if that's a common thing with TODD Begg knives. Maybe it is. But other than those two things, I have nothing else. The only other thing I could say is, you know, I normally don't want to pay this much for D2, but considering how expensive TODD Begg knives are, and then considering how well this is done, I gotta say this actually, I know this is saying a lot, right? So, and I know this is a huge statement, but this feels like a budget React. It really does. Whoever made this knocked it out of the park. The design, the detent, you know, just everything about this feels high quality without the high quality price. So hats off to whoever OEM this. I do not know who is the OEM, but you know, D2 steel, you know, it's a bit pricey for D2, but like I said, man, considering, you know, all the things, you know, I think this is an exception, and damn it, does it look good. Anyways, there's a quick look into these new budget Begg knives. Like I said, everything will be linked down in the description for you guys if you guys want to check out the other affordable TODD Begg knives that are coming out or the ones that are already released. Until next time, peace.